What would you say to coders who are learning how to code right now? This is Thomas, CEO of GitHub, the world's largest platform for developers with over 100 million users. Under his leadership, GitHub Copilot became the most widely adopted AI coding tool in history. We see big companies put a stop on hiring. In 2 years, do you think I wouldn't need a developer?
The idea that AI, without any coding skills, lets you just build $1 billion business is mistaken, because if that would be the case, everyone would do it.
He led GitHub's $7.5 billion integration with Microsoft. Now he's shaping the future of coding itself. So you're not scared?
The dream of software development was always that I can take the idea that I have in my head on a Sunday morning, and by the evening, I have the app up and running on my phone.
Thanks to HubSpot for sponsoring this video. Hey guys, welcome to Silicon Valley Girl. We're here at Viva Tech in Paris, and I have Thomas, the CEO of GitHub. I am so excited to talk to you about what's going on in coding. First of all, let's define vibe coding for everyone who's heard this term and they're like, what's going on? What's happening?
Ooh, that's a tough question to start with. I think the loosest interpretation from my side is that vibe coding means you open your IDE, like Copilot or Cursor, Windsurf, any of these, and you go into the agent mode and you give it a task to do, and then you're just following along of what the agent proposes to you, and you run the commands, and you're mostly focused on interacting with the agent and not so much of what the code actually is doing. Like, you're not reviewing the code all the time.
Yeah, and you don't have to learn how to code. Because I tried GitHub Copilot. I was just chatting with it. I'm like, create this website, do this, and then it just tells me where to put the code. So it starts working. So how complicated can the website get with vibe coding? Can I build something that has a database, or is it just like a landing page or a very simple app?
My rule of thumb would be you can get as far as you're having the patience to keep prompting, because, as you said, if you don't understand what the agent is actually writing, what the code looks like, well, then your only way of modifying, the functionality is by figuring out how to prompt. It almost becomes a quiz or like a game, right? Like where you're trying to, let me try a different approach. I like to compare this to image models, all right? You start with a simple prompt, you render an image of Paris, and then almost certainly you get something which isn't exactly what you expected. And then you start, rewriting it, and for some time there were like tricks to do that in Stable Diffusion and Midjourney by doing things like trending on ArtStation. And then you got closer to what you wanted, but at some point you either run into like a direction where you can't keep going anymore, or you just take it and move it into Photoshop, or in the world of Copilot into VS Code, and now you have to start learning how to code. So I think you can build a web page, you can build authentication, you can build settings pages and things like that, but you're ultimately always going to reach a point where the complexity is so deep, I guess, that you have to then understand what the code is actually doing, or you're building something and it doesn't scale, and it's super slow, and now figuring out a prompt on how to make it fast, and let's say it's a Shopify shop, and make it scale for Black Friday, that is when you have to be a professional developer, at least for now.
So right now we're using code to do basic things. In 2 years, do you think I wouldn't need a developer to build $1 billion company with just vibe coding, or we're still too far away from it?
I think you have to be a developer to be in the tech business, because what you can do with just the help of AI, not coding, everybody else can do as well. And as such, your business isn't really differentiated anymore from other businesses, right? Like if I can just prompt it in 5 minutes and build it myself, what do I need a SaaS service that I pay a subscription for, right? And so I think the startups will build in 10x, 100x more complex things that they're doing today with the help of AI, and as such are differentiating from those that are just vibing it. Okay. Now, there's lots of businesses where you don't have to code at all, like your YouTube channel, and there's many other YouTube channels where you can build out a brand and then hire a team to do a lot of these things. But I think the idea that AI, without any coding skills, lets you just build $1 billion business is mistaken, because if that would be the case, everyone would do it.
And then everybody has $1 billion company, which
doesn't work, right?
Doesn't
like who's paying the money?
Exactly. I know a lot of you guys who are watching this are dreaming of becoming tech founders, and with new AI, it's so much easier to build an app or to put your idea into action within 24 hours. And it's becoming crystal clear that AI is not just a tool, it can actually become your co-founder. But the key is how you prompt it. How do you make it think like you? Because the better you are at talking to it, the more powerful it becomes. If you want to get really good at using ChatGPT or any AI tool, I highly recommend you check out this ebook that is called Advanced ChatGPT Prompt Engineering from Basic to Expert in 7 Days. I put the link in the description to download it for free. It's basically a step-by-step guide to teach AI think like you. So instead of just randomly prompting, you build systems that save you time. I especially love 2 sections. The ROSES framework. It gives you a crystal clear formula for structuring any prompt with the right role, objective, scenario, expected output, and steps. And modular architecture. It teaches you how to create prompt components you can mix and match like Legos and save hours every week. This book is made by HubSpot Media, which is the sponsor of today's video. And honestly, I wish I had something like that when I just started using AI and started prompting by myself. Now, let's get back to our conversation.
Do you think we're going to have less or more developers in 5 years?
I think we are going to have way more developers because it's so much easier to learn it. You know, we talked about our kids earlier. Kids can just get into this by using Copilot and say, hey, how do I build a game?
Exactly.
And they see games, you know, when they go to school, when they talk to their friends, when they, you know, go to a ski lodge and they have a Nintendo corner. And so naturally, kids, when they explore these technologies, they want to learn it themselves. And so giving them, you know, an agent, a chat tool on the side to say, hey, you know, this is how you can learn coding. This is kind of how you can fix your bugs.
Yeah.
This is kind of how you can unblock yourself, right? Like the most frustrating thing when you're learning something is you're stuck somewhere and then you have nobody at home or in your family or friends that can help you with that because they're all non-technical. So like, that's when we're saying AI is democratizing access. That's what we mean. Everyone who wants to learn it can learn it. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, everybody who wants to learn coding then becomes a professional software developer, right? I think there's going to be much bigger range between consumer developers that build their own micro apps, personalized things, you know, the trip to Paris app to figure out this is the places we want to see, this is all the photos we took, and it's only valuable to you and your family or you and your friends, all the way to the professional developers that builds all these AI systems, all the agents that we see here on the show floor today. That I think is still going to be profession, and there's going to be the companies that are the smartest are going to hire more developers because if you 10x a single developer, then 10 developers can do 100x.
100x. Yeah, it feels like we're moving in with the developing. We're moving into like what websites used to be 10 years ago when suddenly there are tools like Squarespace and everyone starts having a website. So they need designers who are not too technical, who have taste. So it's something like this, right? When everyone has an ability to code an app, they will still need someone to like take care of it.
Correct. And you wouldn't start a business today where you're saying, I'm building web pages for small businesses, right? Like every VC will tell you that's not differentiated. There is no mode. You know, that's not the next $1 billion business. That's why I'm thinking, you know, AI will generate so much bigger ideas that the same size of team can implement. Or as you grow your team, you can do even more than those that are just using AI for cost savings.
It's interesting when we talk about this, when I tell this idea to my followers, like, hey, every team can become a lot bigger, they can do a lot more. They're like, but who's going to buy? We're still going to have the same amount of people. What do you think about that?
I think it's temporary, a temporary effect right now that this is the natural conclusion for the short term. We keep things stable and we're trying to figure out how the market develops. But very quickly, I think we're going to see people that say, well, wait a second, if I have one more productive developer, why wouldn't I hire another one and another one? And in fact, you know, AI has already added more work to the backlogs, right? Like I haven't seen companies saying, well, we're draining all our backlog and we have almost nothing left. And soon enough, AI is so powerful that all the ideas are implemented and we're just sitting around doing nothing. I think the reality is AI, you know, all these models, all these agents, you know, the path to AGI ultimately means that we have more work to do. I said this morning that I believe 90% of all code is going to be written by agents.
Yeah.
And that sounds like we take away 90% of the work from developers and they're only left with 10%. But if the total amount of code is growing by 10x, right, now the agent has 9x and the developer still has their 1x that they had before. And so you can keep going with that logic and you see that, you know, ultimately those companies are successful that use AI to accelerate, not to cut costs.
But at the same time, we see big companies put a stop on hiring and they say like, hey, you need it to their employees. You need to figure out how to do this with AI first before we hire someone. What do you think about that?
I think it's a reflection of a fast-changing market and a lot of uncertainty, both in the political environment and in the tech environment of where things are going. And the natural tendency to do is to go slower a little bit, and you might decide some people are no longer the right folks in my company for that kind of environment where things are moving incredibly fast, where you're almost forced to use AI to keep up with the competition. Like the realization I think that many companies had in the last few months is that if we have employees that say we don't want to use AI, that ultimately means we as a company are no longer set up for success because our competitors are all using AI or they're mandating AI. And I think this is the transition phase we're going through. But I believe very quickly we're going to see an acceleration, and you already see things like Mark Zuckerberg getting the Scale AI team into the company. I think that shows where Mark's head is and where he believes the future is going to be. He's willing to invest into it.
Yeah. What would you say to coders who are learning how to code right now? What should they focus on to be able to get a job?
Learn with AI. I think the biggest upside that young people have is that they are adopting new technology much faster than those that are in our day-to-day. Right? Like when you're in a day-to-day job, you have so much work and you have all your meetings and all the emails and all the things you have to do that you barely have any time to learn, while young people that are still in school or in college have a lot of time to learn. And often, young folks are much more open-minded to explore these and adopt these new things. It's, when you go to your parents and you're like, oh, you're old because you're listening to all this music from the past, or you're still watching linear TV and those kind of things. And I think, though, the next generation of developers will grow up with AI. They will, in the same way that, the Gen Z has grown up with smartphones. While in my generation, I didn't have a smartphone until I was like 20. Well, I didn't have a cell phone until I was like early 20s, and then I didn't have a smartphone until I was already in my 30s. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I think we're going to see a new generation of software developers that for them using a set of agents is just going to be natural. Yeah. And they're going to have that when they're writing an email. They're going to have that when they're planning a trip. They're going to have that on the trip, and of course in their work environment across the coding skills, but everything else as well in professional life.
Do you think everyone should try vibe coding today, or you think it's too early for everyone?
I think it's about the right time. There's enough tools and enough AI systems like ChatGPT and Claude that have some form of vibe coding built in. OpenAI launched.
You have to copy the code, right, and insert.
Not with OpenAI has Codex, which lets you do some of those things within the OpenAI environment or ChatGPT environment. But you're right. There's some tools where you still have to know
how to deploy,
where to put it, and what a GitHub repository even is, or what GitHub is for that matter. And then there's technologies like Vercels, V0, Lovable, Bolt, where you can actually just get started without any technical background. What you also see if you follow Reddit threads of people reporting on the experience is that you will get stuck. Right? That's the nature of this. Is either you're not asking deep enough, or you're giving it,
or you just don't know what to ask.
Hard enough problems. Or then you're probably getting it done, but it looks crappy, or it's very simple. Or you're going really to the edge of the technology, and then you're going to get stuck if you don't know how to go into the source code and make modifications. Yeah. But I think Manus is the other one. Manus, who is this Chinese startup that brought this agent to market where you can do vibe coding in the sense of a consumer specifies what they want to build, and then it builds you this web page or web app right in the chat tool. So you're never even launching anything or deploying it or any of the developer activities. You're just asking it to build you a tracking for your kids' allowance or the trip to Tokyo, or those kind of personalized apps that are only useful, your workout tracker, that are only useful for you, and where you in the past would have downloaded an app from the App Store, and now you're using such an agentic system.
Interesting. Oh, that's fascinating. Do you think we're going to the world where AI can generate better ideas than us?
I think AI can help us to generate better ideas, because AI is also incredibly powerful for your own reflections. Like, putting your notes into an AI system like ChatGPT and say, hey, what am I missing? Or what else could I be thinking about? Or if you take this and combine it with something else, what could come out of this. So I think the reasoning capabilities, the chain of thought that these AI systems have, combined with your own ideas, with your triggers, with the things that that keep you up at night because you're so excited about this, I think those still come from the human, but the AI is going to help us to explore those, to put them into a pitch deck or
That's for the next 5 years. Let's talk about AGI. Do you think it's going to be 2030?
depends on how you define AGI. So you have to define
What's
AGI
AGI
first.
for you?
I don't know. I think the arguments are on both sides. On the one side, you could say the models that are powering these AI agents today are already more intelligent than what you and I could do.
Yeah.
Certainly in terms of how much knowledge
Yeah,
they have stored, how they can reason over this knowledge, how they even can summarize things in such a short amount of time. You couldn't read a 500-page book and summarize it. So they are more intelligent or more capable.
And they've also seen all of
in
the
their
ideas.
perspective. But
that
they're not
people
creative.
generate.
I think emotion plays a big role in creativity. And they have no emotion. Even Mr. Data and Star Trek had no emotion either. And they're not sentient. And I think if you define AGI or ASI as that, I don't know how long it will take because we haven't seen any research of how you can implement emotion within an AI system. And so we're going to be on a journey. Waymo in San Francisco is fascinating. What it is.
Everywhere, yeah.
Well, now it's coming to more cities. Self-driving cars, feel like AGIs. I think vibe coding to some degree feels like AGI. But if you define AGI as in it needs to have this human instinct and the human, collaboration and the idea in the morning of doing something completely new, I don't know how far away we are from this. It's certainly not tomorrow.
Okay, so you're not scared, or are you?
I'm excited.
What's your level of? So you're not scared at all?
I'm not scared at all. As long as I still need to remind my kids 3 times to empty the dishwasher. As long as there is no robot that can actually do that, not even a prototype.
I think it's coming soon. Still, there are already robots walking in Silicon Valley, like the.
Well, but they cannot really take a plate out of the craziness that's the dishwasher.
I'm seeing the progress, how fast it happens, and I'm not even what do you teach your kids? What do you tell them? What are they going to be when they grow up? What are the skills they need to acquire now?
No, I grew up in East Germany before the wall fell, and I was 12 years old when Germany got reunited. And I tell them, look, you're growing up in one of the most exciting times that I have, seen in my life, and there's so much technology around you. You can build a company today, not only out of a garage in Silicon Valley, you can build a company out of a garage anywhere in the world because all you need is, a good internet connection, a laptop, or even a cell phone.
And a developer,
and a bit of vibe coding. But you can become a developer if you want to. Everybody can now become a developer. They don't have to get access to books and magazines and a computer club that's only in their town or what have you. And so I think from a software developer perspective, it is the most exciting time that developers have lived in because the dream of software development was always that I can take the idea that I have in my head on a Sunday morning and by the evening I have the app up and running on my phone, right? And the reality today is I have the idea and then I'm trying to figure out how do I take this problem and convert it into source code and libraries and how do I make rounded corners on an iPhone app and those things. And by the time it's night, I haven't done anything. I have basically bootstrapped the project, and set up a few things, and that was it.
Yeah. So basically, what were you teaching your kids? Entrepreneurship?
I'm teaching them to explore the world. I'm teaching them, to how to solve problems on their own.
Yeah.
I'm teaching them, or they're teaching themselves how to use AI, and I think be curious and open-minded.
I feel like you're one of the most positive people I interviewed about AI because a lot of people are like, I'm not sure. Probably 90% of the job are going to be gone, but you're
And I'm German.
and you're German, so it gives me hope. What would be the last advice you would give to people who are watching and who still have fear that AI is going to take their job?
Well, I think the best way to work around the fear that you have around your job is to adopt the technology, learn about it, learn how to use it, to upskill yourself into whatever the next job is going to be. If you fear that your job is going to be replaced because AI can do it, then the best path out of that is to become the expert in using this AI system. Because I think there's always going to be a human that orchestrates, that is the conductor of all these AI agents.
Okay. So you don't see the future where AI spots the problem, generates solution, codes.
Look, there's reasons why we do responsible AI, why we test every model, why there's security guardrails, red teaming, or teams trying to hack the model, figuring out what the system prompt is, doing prompt injection. That is certainly things that we need to work on in the same way that we need to work on software security and traffic safety, and every technology that we have in life has risks and rewards. And I think we should focus on the rewards when we want to predict what the future is, and we should work on the risks on our day-to-day and make sure that the risks don't materialize.
Okay. So your favorite, let's do top 3 favorite AI apps.
Well, of course, Copilot is my number one, as we're working on this.
You use it internally as well to code the code? Yeah.
Yeah, everybody at GitHub, not only the coders, everybody is using Copilot. So in product managers, designers,
Nice.
HR, legal, finance, everybody is using GitHub. That's the nature of GitHub, is that everybody is on GitHub and is on Copilot. I really love ChatGPT for my day-to-day other questions. I have it on my Mac on control space, and it just opens the toolbar, and I think more and more replacing the typical internet search.
Yeah.
And what's the third AI system? That's my favorite. I have certain granola, for example, on my app to transcribe calls. So that comes to mind. I find that really useful, for example, for interviews. I think it's important to call it out to the person you're talking to that you're transcribing the call and having AI write a summary. But it's those things, and then obviously, as I'm not very creative in terms of painting, and so having one of these models create an image for me for a PowerPoint presentation, I find that super useful as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being so positive about the future.
Yeah, thank you for having
this
me.
conversation. Thank you.